We like to be like a trading post, open 24/7, designing of the product, branding the product, giving them the selling platforms like eBay, Alibaba. In the UK, they call it creative economy. It earns billions and billions. So this is the economy, the new model of economy. I tell the IMF, I tell the World Bank, right guys, we also have our ideas. Empower more citizens than empowering the government. That's what this fight was all about for the last 16 years. The more control you allow people to have, the more bureaucracy will thrive. Democracy alone in politics and electing representatives will not work. This is why you see there's so much backsliding of democracy,
Mega development is not much required as much as skills development is required. So what's the plan regarding the youths and the skills development? Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Reflection Podcast. Today we have a very honorable and esteemed guest with us, Mr. Amir Khasru Mahmud Chowdhury, who was a former Commerce Minister of Bangladesh and a standing committee member of the Bangladesh National Party, BNP. Thank you very much for giving us the time today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. My first question to you is regarding a very famous term that you have been using in many of your speeches recently, deregulation. We know how deregulation actually propelled Singapore, propelled Malaysia. Deregulation actually has spearheaded them into a different trajectory. So we wanted to know from you, what do we actually mean by deregulation and how a deregulated scenario will be in Bangladesh?
If you ask me, quite honestly, Bangladesh is a bit over-regulated country right now. That happened because there's tendency to control. And the more you control, more you benefit in a corrupt manner. And benefit goes to the people who control and who benefit from such control. So that is why you see the Bangladesh ease of doing index, we are at more or less at the bottom. If ease of doing business is, your rating is so low, how do you expect for anybody, local or foreign investor, to come and invest in Bangladesh? And because investment is the driver of economic development. And previously what we have seen basically is development through printing money, more borrowing from abroad and local banks, crowding out private sector, paying out lot in interest to overseas borrowing. So, and printing money, which is pushing the inflation as well. So altogether, that model has not worked. It doesn't work for any country, actually. And it only works for what you call is oligarchs, who are the people who benefit from it. And the people in government who also becomes part of it. And oligarchs and government becomes hand and gloves, So this is exactly the reason why deregulation is very important. And the more regulated you are, the worse your economic capacity is going to be. The worse participation of the people, citizens, in the economic activities of the country. So participatory economic policy to have and develop, where they are all part of the economic development of the country, part of it, on the one hand. And when the country does well through economically, benefit also goes back to the same citizens. This is why regulation has become so important. And I give you a simple example. When I was trade minister, commerce minister, and people who are in ready-made garment industry, right, they have to import clothing and other things. And how much they export, so they have to, the government used to issue a UD certificate, utilization certificate, basically, that the raw material you brought in and the export against that raw material is a reconciliatory sort of measure. So this certificate was used to be given by EPB, Export Promotion Bureau, one of the government organ, export promotion organ of the government. So they would, obviously, be corruption. They had to pay for the certificate. and the time they've taken, sometime so long that people have missed their shipment, and also the harassment. So the BJMEA leadership came to see me that please stop them from, corrupt practice and sort of harassing the exporters and all this. So I said, quite honestly, I doubt I can fix EPB. You see, as the way things are. What about if I take it out of EPB and give it to you, your association? Can you self-regulate? The same thing. They didn't expect that because they all expected me to make some changes within the EPB and bring about some amendments. And
make it more efficient.
Make it more easier and efficient. Yeah. So that's what they expected of me. But I went one step further. I said, that's not going to work. Let me take it out of EPB from the government and give it to private sector association. You self-regulate yourself, but be sure that you do the capacity building. And so nothing goes wrong. And believe me, it's 20 years down the road, it's still running well. So this is like one deregulation. If you need 19 permissions to set up a company or whatever, how can you expect that? How long do you take this 19 permissions going to take? So that's what we have done. And so that's what the deregulation is like. We want to remove as many permissions, quite literally everything possible. And if there any ones are left still, so that it can be done online. They don't have to, the physical contact has to be cut out. So there is no corruption because physical contact is one big problem for creating corruption. So this is exactly why we are planning that. So deregulation is like cutting out all this permission business. Like another example I give you, when investors come to Bangladesh, take them so long to go through all these processes. And most of them feel that this is not the country I want to invest in.
They're not used to this.
No, they're not used to it. So we are saying, okay, fine. What we will do in the bidder now, we'll have captains for every investors, like young boys and girls, well-trained to do the job. So each investor will be assigned with one of the captains. We call them captain, right? So they'll play the role of a captain for the investor.
Interesting.
So it is the job of the captain to go through all the process. And the investor has to do nothing. They'll be sitting in London, America, Europe, wherever, and just monitor how much progress their project has made, and they'll be here on time to execute the project. So these are the sort of things that we are thinking then, that deregulation is just cutting out that which the processes that makes it corrupt, that makes it time consuming and all that. So this, one should be able to set up a company online, sitting in the airport, say for an example, investor. Somebody should get out of the airport in 10, 15 minutes.
Like for example, from Bangladesh, you can open up a company in Singapore or UK or USA by 10 minutes.
That's what it is. Like the port turnaround time should be absolutely minimum, the ship's turnaround time. So, these are the measures of trade facilitation. Through trade facilitation, you also cut down various obstacles that the investors face, businessmen face. Customs regulations. You see, it is so corrupt, and so time consuming, and that makes the product more expensive also. And at the end of the day, it is the consumers who end up paying the high price.
Absolutely.
So it should be fully automated. And like random checking, custom officers should not check according to their wishes. So the system will tell you which one to pick up. Algorithm will work well for it. That also has to be audited. So this is what I'm just giving you a few examples. We mean by the deregulation, So ease of doing business is so good that people feel that this is the destination for them as an investor.
Very interesting concept. World Bank, in one of the report, they mentioned that the way they described Bangladesh ease of doing business or the business scenario, they mentioned that it's high obstacle, low trust. So not only that there are issues of bottlenecks, but at the same time, there are also issue of the trust as well, because of maybe corruption, maybe other aspects. So the points that you were mentioning, in essence, in public service, it's actually one of the great models to assess how much of impact the deregulation has done. We are talking about deregulation. The spirit is fantastic. The plans are probably will be brilliant. But I think at the same time, the assessment is also important that, okay, by simplifying this process, how much of benefit we have done. In that aspect, there's this model called TCV, time, cost, visit. How much of the time before, like for example, applying a passport, how much time before you used to need, how much time you need now? Mm-hmm. What was the cost? Because if you need less time and less visit, the cost will automatically come down. Before you probably needed 3 visits. Now you probably can just do it by simple clicks from your home. So TCV, the more the TCV values are increased, then actually, which means that you have simplified the process, or the aftermath or the impact of deregulation has actually worked. So is there any plan to actually assess as well after the deregulation? If your government
obviously, I mean, simultaneously it has to, one is the continuous audit, right. One is the final audit. Right. You have to do both. And as I said, even the 2% the algorithm picks up for what do you call processing the paper and releasing the consignment. That 2% has to be audited. Surely, I mean, what you have corruption with that 2%, you know. That also has to be audited, how much time it took, and you go through the whole, it's like from cradle to grave, sort of, you trace the whole thing, you know, how the whole process had taken place, you know. So there are processes in audit system, depending, there are forensic audit, there is cradle to grave audit, all sorts of audits, according to where you apply, which one is what the system will tell you again.
Right. It's again a very interesting thing, like you mentioned about digitization. One thing is like whenever anything becomes digitized, it's very important that it is interoperable as well. Like what we have seen in the past, that a thing was digitized, but it still needed physical, journey. Maybe a digital pin was given, but you have to probably print the application. You can do the application online, but you have to print the application and then submit the application. That itself is not probably wholesome digitization.
No, it has to be holistic. Right. I mean, this is again, as I was telling you earlier, you know, that you can have a lot of piecemeal reforms, changes. Nice. You know, that doesn't give you the ultimate result you want. So any reform has to be holistic. So end-to-end, basically. Yeah. Even the automation has to be end-to-end. You know, if you have to do something again manually, that's not going to function. That's not going to work for you. Under the e-governance, a whole lot of system has to be digitalized because they must talk to each other also.
That's interoperability, right?
Interoperability. So unless they talk to each other, then again you have a problem.
Absolutely.
Then that will be stuck at some point.
Absolutely.
You don't want that. And you want to build a road, and you click on it, and it will tell you who are the responsible ministries and authorities out there. And just everybody gets the sort of information and act accordingly and fix things accordingly, and whatever interministerial or institutional decisions has to be done in one go. So
absolutely,
and also transparency in many areas of transactions. So one thing leads to another thing, really. So in your program, you have to build in. You know, it's like building blocks one by one by one.
All interlinked with one.
All interlinked. You know.
Another concept, apart from deregulation, which is also associated with deregulation, is democratization of economy. Now, it's a very unique reference, and we have mostly heard it from you to be coined at different roundtables and conferences. I think many of us are curious to understand, including many foreign experts and our diplomat community, that what do we truly mean by democratizing economy?
Well, we talk about the democratization of politics only in our, in our political arena discussion. But what about the economy? If the people, the citizens, are not part of any development, any economic development, economic activities, and also benefit from it. So that development, that economic model really works for only, say, patronized group or organized group or the partisans way of doing things that we have seen in the country. So democratization of economy is basically all citizens should be able to participate in the economic activities of the country. Like starting from an artisan in rural village, cottage industry workers, people working in distant places,
Right.
And we have really never invested enough on them, you see, because, like, I give you an example of an artisan making pottery, for example, product. They've been doing it in generation after generation and selling things, and they really have not graduated into the product development, and we have not been able to monetize in a big
Right.
way, not in the tradable goods in the national, international fora for them to reach. So what we want to do is give them support, say, for their input, the skill development, designing of the product,
Absolutely.
and branding the product,
Absolutely.
and giving them the selling platforms like eBay, Alibaba, and Amazon, things like that. Can you imagine the product which is to be sold at, say, 100 taka? This will fetch maybe anything from 500 to 1,000 taka.
Or maybe the amount will remain same. Instead of taka, it will be USD. 100 taka to 100
Well, that's
USD.
it. Yeah, that's it. So what does it give you, really? At the end of the day, his livelihood is giving them so much more in the way of return from investment. And he's employing more people. So I'm talking about employment here. More people. It's fetching more money for him and for the country in local currency and also foreign currency, helping the reserve and foreign currency, and employing more and more people. So it applies to all citizens working in rural Bangladesh. So cottage industry is a huge industry, and every aspect of cultural life. The music, we have so many types of. We have Lalon Giti, Polli, endless. But we have never monetized this. We never supported these people. So I'm just giving you a few examples. So if you really bring these people into the fold of economic activities, support them, invest on them, and the return is much larger than we think it is. Much larger return. And their lifestyle changes. They earn more money and they pay tax. So again, tax GDP can be only increased through the earnings of the citizens. They are the ones who pay tax. It's not import tax will not solve your problem. Other tariffs will not solve your problem. The revenue has to from the income tax. All over the world, this is number one. Then VAT and other things comes into play.
Right.
Access to skill development, access to branding, to designing, because these people can afford to do it or don't know about it. So we have to have an outline. Delivery is a big issue here, I tell you, because saying it all very well, but deliver these. So we thought about it also, how to deliver it. So we thought government cannot deliver all these things because government does not have that outreach, quite honestly. So we are thinking of having a partnership with the private sector, also with NGOs who can reach out to these people who can deliver, So you have to think of how to deliver it. Government alone cannot deliver it. It's either corruption, wastage, and non-delivery, really, at the end of the day. So we are also working out how to deliver these things. And also this is more transparent. If you work in partnership with the private sector, and NGOs, it's more transparent, and everybody is doing their part of the job which they are good at, And the government is not good at everything. You have to admit it.
Right.
NGO is not good at everything. Private sector is good at certain things.
One thing very interesting is that we usually see sports as sports. But the way you have mentioned that even sports or music or arts.
In the UK, they call it creative economy. And it earns billions. And, during the COVID, I was surprised to see how much they lost in their creative economic area. $8-9 billions of dollars. Can you imagine the economy?
Even the gaming industry.
You see the paintings. I mean, we have thousands of young painters.
Right.
And all you need to do, monetize it.
Right.
And make it tradable and give them support. And I give you an example. This painting you see here, there's one guy in the Chittagong Hill Trails. His name is Ronan. He came to see me for different purpose. Then he said, sir, I'm also a painter. I said, oh, yes, can you show me some of your paintings? So he brought 2-3 paintings. I said, oh my God, this is amazing. Beautiful. He just, in his paintings, he reflected the livelihood of the people in the hills. They got expression through his paintings. Beautiful paintings. I said, how much do I pay you? He said, 5,000 taka. I couldn't believe it. I said, are you sure? Only 5,000 taka. But I paid him 10,000 taka because my conscience was not allowing him to such a low amount for the beautiful painting. Then I told one of my friends who sponsored these people. He said, I want to have an exhibition for people. Send me to the painting. And he was, oh my God, this is good. And we had an exhibition for him. Guess how much each painting went for? The ones he gave me for 5,000, but I paid him 10. How much? You have a guess how much?
50,000.
50,000 to 100,000. So you monetize it and you...
That's probably the fair value.
So I'm just giving you this example because this is how our people who don't have the opportunity to be part of prosperity of the country, economic development of the country. But in turn, they also contribute in a big way. If you can support them, help them, the economic transactions is the GDP. These transactions are GDP. And it pushes up your GDP, employment. Their livelihood goes up. They pay income tax. They spend more money.
Right.
It creates more demand. The new supply chain comes into the scene. Imagine this whole turnaround in the economy. So this is the economy, the new model of economy. I tell the IMF, I tell the World Bank, right, guys, we also have our ideas. You better fit into our ideas. Don't give us a size, such clothing that fits all. It doesn't fit all. There are others that we have to think of. World Bank used to talk about poverty alleviation in the past. Now they're talking about employment. Right. I said, now we have come to the point, right point, because without employment, the country has no future. So we have proposed and projected 10 million jobs in 18 months. Not easy. Everybody tells me that, aren't you a bit ambitious? I said, we are ambitious. You bet we are ambitious. A country which is not ambitious, that country has no future. We are ambitious. And it's possible because we have worked it out, which areas of employment will create and self-employment and foreign, employment abroad, and which are the areas we have worked it all out. But okay, let us give it a go, and I'm sure we might go over 1 crore, or we might be a little short of over 1 crore. It's democracy. In democracy, if people don't flourish with your development, that democracy at the end of the day does not work. We have seen it. How people really get frustrated, get angry. The pent-up frustration and anger when it comes out, it's a disruption. So you want a stable country, stable economy, stable politics, political environment. So it has to go hand in hand. Also, democracy alone in politics and electing representatives will not work really. This is why you see there's so much backsliding of democracy, around the globe. Why you have the backsliding of democracy? Because they don't go hand in hand. They do one thing, the other things are left out. People are left out. The people who are left out, they wait and they wait. And at some point, they break out of it. And then you have a problem. So the people of Bangladesh are now impatient. You have to understand. And so create employment is one of them. And unless you really show something that people feels that you are doing the work for them, and the fight they fought, the sacrifice they made should be worth the while, a sacrifice that the country feels and needs to be fulfilled. And better politicians better realize it, And as I feel, I tell my colleagues, including myself, you better wake up and smell the coffee. Otherwise, you have no future. You better wake up and smell the coffee. You have no future, I tell you. Be a individual politicians or a party. So you really have to live up to it. The expectation is the sky high,
Yes.
So how do you meet that expectation? Along with the electoral process and all this electoral work, we are also planning what do we do with the health, education, employment, even like what should be the principles of investment? I mean, you cannot invest anything that will, in our investment principles, we talk about like, it has to have the value for money, right? It has to have the return on investment.
Right.
It must create employment. It must be environmentally friendly. We cannot afford to lose our biodiversity, for example. Right. We live in a small country, yes. Too many people. So our ecosystem, biodiversity should be borne in mind. So there should be no net loss of biodiversity, you see. And mitigation hierarchy has to be followed. So these are the issues that we bring into our policy as to how to go about investing, be it government in public investment or private investment. So these are the things I think we have to bear in mind. We cannot afford to spend money where you don't have the value and in return on investment and that will create. We don't want jobless development, So these are the things are really issues.
When you're talking about democratizing economy, one of the good impacts or positive outcome will be that inequality will be lower because now there is a economic disparity. Rich are getting richer, poor are getting poorer, as we could see over the last 1 decade at least. We call it Gini coefficient that is becoming more on the trouble side because the inequality is actually increasing. One problem that we see and would love to hear how you plan to tackle that or what's your policy of your party to tackle that is the decentralization aspect. Is also the budget aspect because 68% of the Bangladesh is rural Bangladesh, but only 6% of the budget actually goes towards them. These are all great plans to actually improve the sports or creative industry, but if you don't really give them the fund, if you don't build those activities and infrastructure there, if you only give this 6%, then don't you think it's going to be very difficult?
This is not going to be 6%. That's what I described to you. Where are we going to spend our money on? We are going to spend our money on these rural artisan guys, the sports people who live there, the theater people, the singers who live in a rural Bangladesh. All these people will have to be part of your economy. The investment will go there. And like on IT-related business, we like to have call centers all around the country. So young educated people, boys and girls, can go to the call center, data center, work there. These are well-paid jobs. Absolutely. Their lifestyle will change. So this is the investment you want to make. You see, when you invest, instead of going for mega projects, I would rather have the uninterrupted power supply all over the country. Absolutely. And the robust internet system all over the country. Yes. So the benefit, this is why the democratization, also the inclusiveness of the economy. Right. The people in rural Bangladesh should be part of economic development. Sitting at home, they can make products online on Amazon. So this is a chain we have to invest on. And giving them skill, giving them support in financial support, input support, designing support. Absolutely. Selling platform, branding it. So these are big investments. These are small investments. And as I said, we have also decided the partnership, how to really implement this. I mean, designing is not good enough.
It sounds like you are also referring to capacity developments and in particular the youths. That leads to my next question is that we now have a demographic dividend at this point of the time. There is a youth bulge, as we call it. We have this demographic dividend probably for the next 10, 15 years. But what many economists actually fear is that with youth comes great energy. But if this energy is not harvested in the right way, it can actually become demographic liability instead. So any particular plans focusing on the youth, particularly you mentioned one thing, again, I will quote you in one of the newspapers. You mentioned that mega development is not much required as much as skills development is required. So what's the plan regarding the youths and the skills development?
As I said, all the activities that I mentioned, these are all part of youths, mind you, be it in the village, in the cities, Education system has to change also, Like health and education are the two major areas. In order to create the human capital and get the demographic dividend, you have to invest in health and education. This is what we are talking. What we are saying that up to 5% of the GDP has to go into health and care and education, because we have decided to go for a free health care, primary health care for all citizens. Then education again up to 5%. But what is this up to 5%? It's not just normal education. It's a lot of vocational training schools, skill development centers, and make them employable. And these, for somebody to work in a call center, for example, they have to be educated in IT-related issues, They have to be educated. So we have to have the institutions there. We have to have the skill centers. And we also have to bring in our education system from primary level, elementary school level, technical education. So in Western democracies, in all the countries, they have started from school. So they get interested in technical education. And not everybody has to go to a college or university. Actually, 60% of them I find in China. They're from school, they go to vocational schools and colleges. So we have to get into that and in our education system.
Absolutely.
So there you have to invest. School, every college will have to have facilities to educate our boys and girls from the level of school. And the ones already out, they have to be developed. They have to be given new skill development, skilling, reskilling, even upskilling, whatever is needed. When we say up to 5%, this is where money is going to go, actually. So we don't want everybody to graduate and get a master's degree or PhD. We don't need everybody to be there. So this is where the most unemployment is. You see people who have graduated and master's degree holders and all that. So these are the biggest unemployed, educated class in the country. And we want them to employ them. These are the facilities we want to invest on. And this is where demographic dividend is going to give, because the window is very small. You have to, I don't think we have more than 20 years. I think less than that. So the window is very small. And we are also thinking of very interesting idea we are coining with this now, longevity dividend. It is the people who retired at the age of 55, 60. They are still functional people.
Right.
Our average life expectancy is 72, 3 or something like that. So people retired 55, 60, they still have good 10 years. So how do you employ these people? How do you employ disabled people? Everybody has to be, they are able to do something. And the people who have retired at 55, come on, they're still functional people. How do you employ them? We are also working on that, but that's an agenda for little later. But we are also bringing them, because they are also, as I said, democratization of economy.
Every sector has to be.
The old guy has, if he is capable of working in a call center, for example, his English is good, he can pick up the phone, he or she is able to work in a data center, or he is able to work in the cottage industry, for example. Maybe he will pick up pottery as a habit. Culinary is something that, another big thing globally, but we have not given, so let's train people on culinary. In the whole world, the chefs are one of the highest paid people in the world. So we also want to, in our skill development, we like to have culinary schools. We like to have drama schools, drama colleges, people who will do, and all these are soft power, you see. Sports, culture, drama, paintings, sculptures, music. These are the soft powers. They don't have any boundary.
Absolutely.
We also need to have some soft power as a country,
How we want to be known for.
No, I mean, look at, India, all said and done. Their film is a global thing,
Absolutely.
right? Cricket is a big economic activity, it's big economy in Australia.
Absolutely.
Brazil, football is an economy. It's an economy.
Absolutely.
It's a big chunk of their GDP. So we have to have, widen up our sort of economic window, not just manufacturing and this and that. We have to open up the window, and our agriculture we have to have smart agriculture, for example.
Okay.
Our output is good. They're feeding such a large population, our farmers. Good job. But we have to have now smart agriculture in order to be able to, having fulfilled our demand, maybe you are able to export processed food and all that. And processed food export is more profitable than the vegetables or mangoes or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
So this is another industry that will pick up in the process. So the economy has to be all-encompassing, all inclusive. So I think our economic model is going to be very different in the future. And I know when I talk to multilateral bodies, they said, "Oh my God, you have some very different ideas and brilliant ideas." I said, "Yes, you have been giving us prescription for long enough. Maybe it's about time you learn something from us, because we are also practitioners as a politician, as an academician. Everybody is a practitioner in Bangladesh. So we are also learning in the process."
One of the recommendations from Dhaka Forum was, it's great to focus on our youths, but as we are part of the global citizenship, or as part of the global economy, can we also think about bringing in international youths, like, for example, what we have seen in Philippines, what we have seen in Indonesia? They term it digital nomads. People from America, people from UK, they're coming and staying in the Bay Area of Bali, they're staying in the Bay Area of Cebu, they're staying in the Bay Area of Phuket, and actually setting up their company from there, working from there. Do you think that such programs can also be undertaken? We have one of the biggest unbroken sea beach in the whole world. Can we take such measures as well to incorporate youths from the whole world?
Yeah, tourism is another area, relating to what you just mentioned. Bangladesh has great potential also, Forget about foreign tourists. Even our local tourists. People have started touring, and our people have now learned to travel and enjoy their time as holidays, traveling around the country. But this can be, again, smartly done.
Right.
You can really multiply it in so many ways, so much more. And that will attract. We are a riverine country, okay? Right. And the transport on the water body and the tourism on the water body have not really started.
True.
So we have it's a riverine country where huge water, 1/3 of Bangladesh is the water body. So we need to also explore all these things. This is where people get interested. Our people living abroad, even other citizens, non-Bangladeshis will be attracted. And when you have such a well-designed economic activity, open for all, it's like we like to be like a trading post, open 24/7, and everybody is welcome. People should feel that this is a country, it's a trading post, it's a cultural post, it's a sporting area, its culture is rich. People of all walks of life will be attracted to Bangladesh. People come for business, they also do some tourism. You see, that is what's happening in Thailand, in many other countries. So we can all it's all-encompassing economic activities because we have the manpower. I have seen Bangladeshis working in Silicon Valley, just as good as any other citizens, So the same people, we can have our own Silicon Valley in Bangladesh. I know. I was visiting one of their offices. He said, "I have got 200 Bangladeshi engineers working."
Oh, wow.
I said, "Really?" I said, what makes you recruit so many Bangladeshi? No, they are good. They have wonderful coordination of head and finger and head. And that reminds me of garment industry. How our girls from rural areas come, have not seen the product in their life, the kind of product they make. See how they're good at doing it. So that's what reminds me of hand and finger coordination.
We talked about the policies. We understand that it seems that you have a very thorough research and a holistic plan of how you want to uplift the economy, how you want to make it into a democratic economy. One thing that you yourself has mentioned, and that perhaps is a challenge question also, you mentioned previously that policy making should be left with policymakers and implementation, bureaucrats should focus on implementation. In Bangladesh, it is often seen that sometimes great policies at the end of the day does not really get implemented because of some bureaucratic bottlenecks or some bureaucratic slowness, because this is a system that has been developed over the years and it has its own DNA, it has its own structure. Do you have any plans to reform this part as well? Otherwise, great policies might be stuck somewhere.
This is exactly why the word deregulation comes in front and center of everything. You see, once you deregulate, really, I don't think anybody has much to obstruct, the process of, your policy execution. Just deregulate. And online, real time, no physical contact, more or less. I gave you an example of ready-made garment, UD certificate by the EPB. So I took it out, gave it to you, BGMEA. It's working fine.
Self-regulated.
And I tell private sector, guys, get ready, do the capacity building. Maybe there are jobs which is done by the government, can be done by your association or your chamber. Get ready for it, do the capacity building. So deregulation comes in many forms. The more control you allow people to have, the more bureaucracy will thrive. It's the only way to take out the control. Just take out the control, and you don't need so many control points in the country. So just remove those things. They don't need to be there. Just change those things. So who is going to stop you if there is no stopping point? So this is a concept. We want to empower more citizens than empowering the government. This is another thing we have to understand. You have to keep in mind, empower your citizens to do things for themselves.
Maybe that's the spirit of deregulation.
That's the spirit of deregulation. Right. Empowering people to do the things for themselves and less empowering the government.
It's a beautiful thing that you said. My last question to you on this regard is that what we have seen in Singapore, they've actually gone through a similar transition when they try to deregulate. But I think one challenge they faced as well is that because it's such a massive task, as you yourself mentioned, that it's easier said than done. And you have a very big program starting to actually explore new economies as well, building programs, incorporating everyone. What Singapore has done is they have also implemented a strategy unit under the Prime Minister's office and a national implementation and delivery unit under the Prime Minister's office to fast track it. Because it's such a big program that the coordination, the assessment, whether all these programs being implemented ministry by ministry is done or not. And we are at the end of the day is a South Asian country. So if it is not centralized towards the Prime Minister's office, sometimes things get a lot slower. Do you think if your party comes into the future government, do you have any plans to create such wings within the Prime Minister's office?
When you deregulate, as you rightly said earlier, how do you make sure that your deregulation is working? So there are, one is audit, as I said, one is monitoring, one is watchdog bodies. The institutions must be created. Be it Prime Minister's office, be it Bangladesh Bank, be it Security and Exchange Commission, BTRC or whatever. These are the National Board of Revenue. These are the institutions, major institutions, and Register of Joint Stock Companies. Right. I have 4 or 5, 6 names. I always think of how to NBR, National Board of Revenue. How do you make them work? This institution. They are the major ones. There are many others. So institutions must work independently, professionally. And everything has to be time-bound in the country. Nothing can be open-ended. Nothing. So if you make it like that, and monitoring agencies are there, watchdogs are there. So in other words, all the institutions of monitoring and a watchdog, and the institutions themselves running independently, professionally, with time-bound target. So I think a lot of the problems will be solved. Yes, Prime Minister's office is a chief executive's office, obviously. Chief executive's office has a job to, it has an oversight job, it has monitoring job, and it has also, in a way, like watchdog's job, So all these things, Prime Minister's office will have its own people to do. But that will be all there, of course. And I think we'll have some right and good people, I can assure you, this time round. It's also in our previous governments, we didn't have problem with the capital market.
Right.
We didn't have problem with the banking system because we didn't put any politically backed people, institutions. We haven't done that. But this time round, we are more careful. It's not just non-political. They have to be professionally sound. They have to be efficient. They have to have the exposure to do the job, And I believe that we'll also have to ring fence some of the institutions. Because as they say, if you give them peanuts, you get the monkey. So you have to give the pay package for the right people sitting inside. BSEC must have a group of people, and Bangladesh Bank, PTFC, NBR, many others. So some of the institutions needs to be ring fence also. Give them pay package for which they'll perhaps leave a more lucrative job elsewhere. Like Singapore Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew say, we are paying them millions of dollars of salary to the minister. But if not, they'll be paying double the amount in a multinational companies, global corporations. But they have left it for country, and this is what we pay them, but we pay them well. So they have to have a good life. But also, because those things also needs to be considered. You need to have good people, but you need to have also make exceptions like coming out of government salary scale and all that. And people will come in contract, people will be seconded from private sector to government sector to private sector. The secondment is another area that we have to work on, because there has to be interaction between private sector, public sector and all that. So there has to be cross-fertilization in many ways, in many areas. This is how we bring out the best in any beauty, in the people, at home people, and a lot of Bangladeshis are very well established abroad. If they're willing to support, fine. They can also come and join. But at our terms, it's not, we don't want to bring in people from abroad and do their job. But we have a plan. We are a political party.
Right.
And we have some responsibility for people in the country. So in that line, everybody has to fall in line. But there are people, Bangladeshis are bright, intelligent people. They have delivered. Given opportunity, they have delivered at home and abroad.
Thank you very much. Very interesting insights and an outlook on the policies, or a sneak peek of the policies that probably will be published very soon.
It's just a sneak peek, you bet, because there are more to it. We can go on forever,
But we would like to end with this beautiful comment that you mentioned. Probably that's the ethos of all the reform plans that you are doing, is that empowering the people more than empowering the government. So thank you very much once again.
That's what this fight was all about for the last 16 years.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.